Did Buckingham Palace or Prince William set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and were they gullible enough to fall into it? The silence inside Buckingham Palace just shattered. Behind thick historic walls once built to withstand wars, something more dangerous than scandal now brews. Uncertainty. The kind of uncertainty that makes the monarchy tremble. And Meghan Markle is suddenly no longer smiling for the cameras, because this time it's not gossip. It's not an anonymous source in a tabloid. It's not a cruel hashtag trending for 24 hours and forgotten. This is official, verified, silent, but very real. A royal investigation has been opened, and it targets the most delicate subject of all: the true birth records of Prince Archie and Princess Liat. Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain. For years, Meghan played the media like a Hollywood director. Curated baby bumps, black and white garden portraits, Netflix documentary monologues crafted frame by frame to control public perception. But the British monarchy doesn't play by PR rules, especially not when it comes to something as sacred as bloodline. According to insider whispers, senior palace officials have quietly launched a review, a full-blown document-level archive-deep investigation into the legitimacy of Meghan and Harry's children. People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI. They think they're borrowed kids, like all these sorts of things because of Meghan and Harry. And not because of Twitter conspiracies, not because of tabloids, but because the royal line of succession depends on one thing: proof. Verified, traceable, legally sound proof. Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Liat from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself. The monarchy cannot inherit rumors. It cannot crown uncertainty. And it all began with a single question quietly asked by an archivist inside Buckingham Palace. If everything is legitimate, why does nothing look normal on paper? Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born on May 6, 2019. At first, everything seemed normal. His birth was announced, a certificate was filed, and Meghan was listed under her legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Meghan entered this world like it was a Hollywood set, assuming she could rewrite the script, center herself in every scene, and edit out anything that didn't fit her narrative. Standard procedure. Nothing strange until, without any clear explanation, something changed. Exactly 1 month later, the original birth certificate was edited. Meghan's personal name disappeared, replaced by the royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Not as a formality, not as a clarification, but as a retroactive correction, a legal overwrite. One that palace historians and legal experts found deeply unusual. And then they put out pictures of Lily, but it does you see her half covered, but what you see is Meghan. So it's all about Meghan again. Royal birth documents are drafted with absolute precision, signed off by doctors, reviewed by clerks, and sealed by palace officials before public release. They are not rebranded. They are not aesthetic tools, and they are never under any circumstances changed after the fact unless something isn't right. When the press noticed the amendment, Meghan's team reacted quickly. They claimed the palace made the change without her consent. They framed her as the victim of institutional interference. Then when the baby was born, when Archie was born, that was another, in my view, a disaster, because I knew we was not going to get a picture of it. Everybody was hoping we would get pictures of it. But the palace quietly countered that Meghan had in fact requested the update herself for branding consistency. Two opposing stories, no confirmed paperwork, no timeline, no explanation. And that contradiction opened the first crack. Because in a system where every royal child's identity must be protected through records, witnesses, and lineage protocol, this kind of revision is a red flag. It wasn't just the change that disturbed officials. It was the pattern, and what that pattern could mean. Delivery certificates, and I heard stories early on around the time Archie was allegedly in utero and being worn. I heard stories that royal staffers were not allowed to see or touch her abdomen. Because if the birth certificate was edited without transparency, what else was hidden? In the British monarchy, tradition is law, especially when it comes to royal births. Every senior royal baby for generations has followed the same strict format. Medical supervision, official witnesses, and a ceremonial announcement displayed on a gilded easel outside the hospital. It's not just symbolism. It's constitutional documentation. A ritual designed to prove that everything, every breath, every name, every title is real. But none of that happened for Archie. She says to Carling that her surname isn't Marle but Sussex, MHM, And she was desperate to get, she said, we never had a proper surname. Of course they did. There was no easel, no confirmed hospital appearance, no public photographs of the newborn in his first hours of life. Just silence and then polished PR photos that felt more like a brand reveal than a royal moment. Palace insiders reportedly began to whisper. Staffers who had been present during past royal births noticed something off. Some even claimed they were not allowed to approach Meghan during her pregnancy, that no one outside her inner circle was permitted to verify anything firsthand. And outside the palace, the internet exploded with speculation. Was Meghan actually pregnant? Was it a surrogate? Was the baby born where they claimed? Was there a reason no medical team had confirmed the birth on record? The less she revealed, the louder the questions became. All the pictures, my point is out there, were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy. And I thought, what is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy pool. But the palace didn't react out of emotion. This wasn't about conspiracies or personal feelings. It was about documentation. Because with every royal birth, there are protocols, procedures, records, and in Archie's case, almost everything was missing. So the question that pushed the palace over the edge wasn't dramatic. It was chilling in its simplicity. If this was a normal royal birth, why does none of the documentation reflect that? If Archie's paperwork raised eyebrows, Lineage's birth set off alarms. She was born on June 4, 2021. But not in London, not in a royal hospital, not under the watchful eye of the monarchy's medical staff. Instead, the announcement came from a press release crafted by Meghan and Harry's personal team in California. No palace involvement, no UK obstetric team, no certified midwife, no formal medical witness submitted to the Crown. There was no traceable document confirming where, how, or even by whom the birth had occurred. And to a casual observer, that might seem like a small thing, a preference for privacy. But inside Buckingham Palace, it triggered a constitutional migraine. It is uncomfortable, but I don't think 'cause she's done this before for photos. I don't think that is a real baby bump. I think it's way too big. It's way too big and sort of too low as well. Yeah, it's like a meter out there. I mean, it looks the wrong shape. Was she going to give birth there, through her knees or something? I mean, that is because royal births aren't just family milestones. They are legal events, institutional moments recorded for history, so that no one, not now or in 50 years, can question the line of succession. When a baby is born into the royal family, it must be witnessed, documented, and verified. Not just for sentiment, but for the survival of the monarchy itself. But in Lineage's case, the palace received nothing. No documents, no hospital files, no royal confirmation. All they had were photos, and those photos only raised more questions. Each image Meghan shared during her pregnancy looked drastically different. One bump was high, another was low. Some seemed too large for the reported stage. Others appeared flat just weeks apart. Observers online noticed lighting inconsistencies, angles that made proportions shift, stomach curves that seemed to vanish depending on the camera. And then quietly, the doctor associated with the delivery withdrew from media attention. She didn't give interviews. She didn't confirm the birth. She vanished. Inside the palace, staff began to realize something chilling. Everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery. Like, I mean, if you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. You know, this is what it is. This wasn't about doubting Meghan's motherhood. It was about the total absence of standard institutional verification. The Crown wasn't demanding photos. It was demanding proof, because without proof, there is no succession. If the birth records were murky, the christening shattered every royal expectation. Traditionally, royal children are baptized in the Church of England by senior Anglican clergy in ceremonies documented with the same precision as a state contract. These are not casual rituals. They're constitutional acts filed, witnessed, and archived. They ensure the child's place in the line of succession is sealed under both royal and religious law. But when Lilibet was christened, none of that happened. Instead of returning to the UK, Meghan and Harry held a private ceremony in Montecito, California, officiated by Bishop John Taylor, of the Episcopal Church. A well-respected spiritual leader, yes, but not Anglican, not royal, not part of the institution that governs British royal heritage. No Anglican registry, no formal baptism ledger. William was born, and Harry was born, and George, and Charlotte, and Louis. We got great pictures outside the hospital. I remember, and William and Catherine especially, they made such an effort. No confirmation by the Church of England. For royal archivists, this wasn't just a breach of etiquette. It was a legal nightmare because under the monarchy's rules, an episcopal christening on American soil does not count as official. Not for a royal heir, not for someone in the line of succession. And still, Meghan presented it like a celebration. Photos were shared, press releases were issued. Sentimental words were posted, but none of it mattered to palace officials because none of it was real. At least not in the eyes of the crown. Without Anglican verification, the ceremony carried no institutional weight. And behind closed doors, that realization sent shock waves through royal protocol. If Lilibet wasn't baptized under the Church of England, her place in the royal order could be invalidated. And if the baptism was just a private affair done outside of royal oversight, what did that mean for everything that followed? The deeper the palace looked, the stranger things became. At first, officials hoped the holiday cards, the cheerful curated family portraits Meghan and Harry released each year, might offer clarity, proof, continuity, something to confirm that all was well behind the scenes. But the moment they examined the photos, the whispers got louder. Was real. Whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie. In one image, Archie looked significantly older than his reported age with facial features that didn't match prior public appearances. In another, Lilibet's head tilt and skin tones appeared subtly mismatched with Meghan's hand and arm shadows. It wasn't just speculation. Professional photo analysts began speaking out. They pointed to texture shifts, reflection anomalies, and depth of field mismatches. Signs typically associated with compositing or digital grafting, not natural photography. Some noticed that Meghan's arm seemed unnaturally stiff, as if cradling a placeholder rather than a moving child. Others observed lighting inconsistencies between subjects, even when standing inches apart. And this time the palace was listening, because royal photographs aren't just pretty pictures. They're evidence, public records, archival moments used to track and trace lineage over time. If these images were edited, if the palace couldn't confirm the authenticity, then everything else needed to be checked, too. Suddenly, what had once seemed like innocent holiday cheer now looked like a puzzle with missing pieces. Were the children present in every photo, or were they added after? Were these moments real or manufactured? And if something as basic as a Christmas card couldn't be verified, what else had been carefully constructed? That's really so awful because they're not getting to meet their cousins and to know their cousins. Such a shame for them. Inside the palace, the tone shifted from curiosity to concern because this wasn't about Meghan's personality, not her interviews, not her documentaries. This was about law, royal law. If a royal child's birth is not verified through proper medical oversight, if their baptism is not registered under Anglican tradition, if their identity is presented through stylized media instead of institutional documentation, then their claim to succession becomes fragile, contestable, potentially invalid. And that terrifies the monarchy far more than any podcast or paparazzi headline. Behind closed doors, senior advisors reportedly began asking difficult questions. If these matters go unresolved, what happens if a political challenge arises, a legal challenge, a future monarch's authority question because someone failed to verify a birth certificate? And the answer was simple. The entire constitutional order could unravel. So, palace officials made a decision, one they never take lightly. They opened a quiet internal verification review, not to humiliate Meghan, not to spark media storms, but to protect the monarchy from future collapse. Because royal succession isn't sentimental. It isn't emotional. It's not about Instagram posts, sympathetic speeches, or public tears. Why not, Father Calvin, just put the bill to Parliament now? Just strip them. Just strip them of their titles. I'm dumb. It's about recorded truth. And if that truth cannot be proven, titles can be suspended. Recognition can be withheld. Royal status can be frozen indefinitely. For Meghan, this is the nightmare she never saw coming. She built a brand, an empire on the illusion of control. She left the monarchy to tell her own story, to be the narrator, the editor, the lead actress, the lens. But the one thing she cannot narrate is lineage law. And she knows it because everything she and Harry created after leaving the royal family, every deal, every headline, every Netflix episode rests on the assumption that their children are royal. Not just in blood, but in paperwork. That assumption was worth tens of millions. Streaming platforms, book publishers, interviewers all paid premium attention because Archie and Lilibet were perceived as modern royal heirs. But if the palace's review concludes there are gaps in that narrative, if documents are missing, if protocol wasn't followed, if any part of the record is unverifiable, then those deals lose value. Suddenly, Meghan and Harry aren't royalty in exile. They're just another celebrity couple. With good lighting, Hollywood doesn't cancel. It forgets. It stops calling. It moves on to the next royal scandal, the next fresh face, the next trending couple. And Meghan knows it because without her children's royal status, the mystique collapses. The narrative falls apart. The invitations dry up and no PR team in the world can fix that. The palace isn't seeking revenge. It isn't trying to make headlines. It's doing what it has always done, protecting the crown. Lineage is not negotiable. It is not subject to opinion or sentiment. It must be proven, documented, traceable, even if that means verifying events that Meghan hoped would never be questioned. And now, as Meghan paces in Montecito, surrounded by PR teams and stylists, there's one thing she cannot silence: the quiet murmur of institutional power. Because Buckingham Palace doesn't shout, it doesn't leak, it doesn't spin. It simply reviews the files, and once that process begins, no amount of charm, nostalgia, or Netflix edits can stop it. Whatever this internal investigation uncovers, whether it confirms everything or exposes the unthinkable, the consequences reach far beyond gossip. They touch on titles. Heritage, global perception, commercial dreams, future recognition, all balanced on a single truth. Constitutional legitimacy is the one story Meghan cannot write, edit, or narrate.